Hello to my dear friends. I am Devika CS of DC1 Chemistry. So today I am going to give a book review on The Adventure of the Copper Beeches written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So the author might be familiar to each and every one of you. He is the creator of the most famous and iconic fictional character of all times, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. So this book was published in the year 1892. It is one among his 56 short stories and the last of his 12 stories published in the book The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So this is the book. I am an ardent fan of Mr. Holmes and was introduced to him at a very young age. So what really fascinated me about him was his art of deducing things and his keen and sharp observation. So he was also an expert in forensics and logical reasoning. The stories are narrated by Dr. Watson, who is Mr. Holmes' assistant. He accompanies him in all of his investigations. So he is also his flatmate at 221B Baker Street, London, where most of his investigative stories start. So this story is about a young woman named Miss Violet Hunter and the strange experiences she has to face on taking over her new job. So the story starts with Mr. Holmes receiving a letter from Miss Hunter in which she expresses her dilemma over whether to or not to choose a job as a governess. So a governess is actually a woman who is employed to teach children at their own homes. So she wanted to discuss this matter with Mr. Holmes. On meeting him, she explains that she was a governess for 5 years at a colonel's home. When the colonel shifted to another place, she lost her job and was desperately in need of money. That was when she was called by a well-known agency for governesses called the Westerways. There she met a man named Geoffrey Rucastle, who was a very social and amiable person with a very great appearance. So he instantly agreed to hire her. Her duty was to look after his 6-year-old son. So everything appeared okay for her and she was almost going to accept the job when he placed some certain strange conditions, which was she was required to cut her hair short and wear a particular kind of dress. Even though she was reluctant to take over the job at first because of the strange conditions that Mr. Rucastle placed, she ultimately accepts it because of the high salary they promised to give her. So she decided to go to Mr. Rucastle's home, which is situated at the Copper Beeches at Hampshire. Mr. Holmes also tells her to accept the job and assures her that if she needed any kind of help, she could send a telegram to him and they would be present at Hampshire to help her. After a fortnight, Mr. Holmes receives a message from Miss Hunter asking him to come to Hampshire immediately. When she meets him there, she tells him about the incidents that happened after she joined for the job. So at this point we are introduced to Mrs. Rucastle, who is actually Mr. Rucastle's second wife. Mr. Rucastle has a daughter named Alice from his first wife, who is now in Philadelphia. She then narrates to Mr. Holmes about the strange incidents that took place thereafter. Mr. Rucastle would make her wear a kind of dress of a particular blue shade and would ask her to read out from a book in the front room with her back turned to a window. So as this continued for 2 more days, she actually became curious and suspected that there was something that they didn't want her to see, which was behind the window. So she tries to hide a piece of glass in her handkerchief the next day and tries to look what was behind the window. She was really shocked to find a man at the road looking right in her direction. She later finds out that there was a huge and fierce mastiff kept in their house who was always left hungry and was fed only once in a day by their drunk servant Mr. Toller. But the most astonishing event was when she found a mass of hair in one of the unused drawers in her room. What was even more shocking was that it was very identical to her own hair. She then finds that a particular wing in the building was not inhabited by anyone. She one day saw Mr. Castle come out of that particular wing looking really angry and disturbed. On asking him, he merely says that it is a room that is used for dark photography. However, unconvinced at his explanation, she tries to find out herself what was inside this particular wing. Um, when she got the opportunity to, she sneaked in, and it was a dusty and spooky place. She was horrified to see a shadow move forward and backward. She ran for her life and was unfortunately caught by Mr. Castle. On seeing her, the usually happy and jovial looking face of Mr. Castle changed to that of rage. He warned her that if she was again to set her foot on the forbidden wing, she would be fed to the deadly mastiff. At this point, Miss Hunter was really frightened and terrified, and she felt that she should seek out the help of Mr. Holmes and Watson. So, I would like to stop my review here and leave the rest to the reader to find out. So, who was the prisoner kept in the forbidden wing? Will they succeed in rescuing the prisoner? Who was the man who looked at Miss Hunter from the road? And whose hair was it that she found in one of her unused drawers? So, these are some of the questions. The reader will find the answer as the story proceeds. So, I really enjoyed reading this book. It was filled with surprises, suspense, and mysteries like the rest of Sir Doyle's books. I did not find any major drawbacks, only that I was a bit confused towards the ending. Other than that, this is perfectly written. So, I would really like to recommend this book to my dear friends. So, happy reading and thank you.